tell me your names and
My
the
name-
name of your film?
Sure. My name is Andrew Hevia. This is Carlos Rivera. Our film is Leave the Bus Through the Broken Window.
So that is, I mean, first of all, the name of that film. You know, after you're done with the film and you're like, I have to pick a name for this. How did you come up with that?
The truth is, when the film is about the year I lived in Hong Kong, trying to make a different movie. And while I was living in Hong Kong, I actually saw this sign on a city bus, and it's a poorly translated exit sign. And so emergency exit this way. And I remember reading it at the time, feeling like that would be the title of my memoir.
Yeah.
And then as the film evolved into this much more personal version of the film, it became the only appropriate title.
So why did you decide to do this documentary? I mean, what was the point that you said, I have to do something, you know?
Well, I'd say initially I set out to make a documentary about an art fair. That was the proposal I'd written. That was the grant that I got, was to make a very different movie. And when that didn't work out, it was Carlos actually who watched the edit and said, "Listen, there's a much better movie here, but it's about you. It's about me." And by making that shift and turning the movie into my experience, it became both a better version of a movie about art, because now it's about how I experience the art, but also it's just a much more personal story because we're talking about the process and the reasons I went to Hong Kong in the first place. So the answer to your question is the movie itself.
So you didn't have to give the money back, did you?
No. In
Like,
the
you
end,
made a
once
different
it started playing film festivals, they said, okay,
Okay.
you're off the hook. Well done.
So give me a taste of those kind of lost in translation moments where it's like you were talking about the name of your
Right, the sign
film.
itself.
So what other kind of moments were that kind of like, you know?
Are there any you want to mention?
Lost in translation moments.
Yeah, like, you know, because the culture
I mean, you
is
lived
so
it.
different.
You can speak to it.
Well, I'd say one of my favorite moments that's in the film is the moment I realized the documentary about art that I set out to make was not going to work out. And it's a moment I went to an art show. I'm in Hong Kong. I assumed I could make this film by talking to artists about their experience. But then I get to this art show, and the show is very much about an artist who grew up in Hong Kong and about the shift between Mandarin and Cantonese and about the political situation and the context of Hong Kong. And I didn't know anything about that. I could talk to the artist, but I couldn't even understand, like, I didn't know how to engage with the art in a way that meant I added value to that conversation. And I realized, oh no, I'm not the guy to make that movie.
Yeah.
And that was a very big fish out of water moment. It was just a moment that I totally understood I had to find another way to do this. There's another one that might be easier to quote, assuming you're editing. I got lost in a shopping mall for like 2 hours.
Oh, God.
Easy show in the mall. It looks like a teardrop. It's a very simple design. Everything's in English. They had an animated map showing me where to go.
Oh my God.
Yet somehow I could not get from point A to point B and got lost in this massive expanse. That was a pretty humbling fish out of water
So
moment.
what was your take on that? Like, why did that happen to you?
Well, so it's kind of this like this. Here's a better example of why that happened to me is when I found that I moved to this foreign city, this culture I was not familiar with. The things that you take for granted. I can come from Los Angeles or Miami or New York to Dallas, and I know when I cross the street, look this way for the cars, look that way for the cars.
Yeah.
And in that, there's a scene in the film where I'm wandering outside the shopping mall trying to find the proper entrance. And when you look down to the street, there's an arrow, and they've painted, look this way. And they're telling you, because so many people come to Hong Kong, in this country, cars come that way.
Yeah.
And I had to know that the things that I take for granted, what way the cars are coming, what length, the procedure to get on a city bus, all the things that are normalized in America, in Hong Kong are different.
Yeah.
And so the whole time you feel just out of your element.
Yeah.
Which means you can get lost on the way to simple things because you think it's more complicated.
Exactly.
It can't be that easy.
So we've got two nerdy questions for you.
Go for
First
it.
of all, do you guys watch Game of Thrones? Okay.
Yes.
So who is
Yes.
your pick to sit on the Iron Throne? At the end of the day, who's going to take it?
I don't know. It's going to be weird because I think between Khaleesi and Jon Snow, that they might be relatives, which is a weird thing, you know. But they're also aligned. I want Jon Snow. I'm Team Snow. for Game of Thrones.
I am all for Arya Stark. I think somehow it's going to end bloody.
She's gonna keep killing people.
It's going to end bloody, and she'll be the last one standing because you cannot count against that girl.
But with what face?
Wow.
Robert Baratheon.
Okay, and our last question is, in the nerd universe, if you had a weapon of choice or a superpower to defeat the forces of evil, what would it be?
Any universe I've won.
Any universe, any...
Any nerd. Okay.
I want the Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII that Cloud Strife uses early in the game. Less powerful than the Ragnarok, but iconic to me. I would use that.
Damn. Not only is that good, that's also super nerdy.
Or a
That is it.
proton pack from
These
the
are all
Ghostbusters.
deep
You know,
cuts.
Peter Venkman it. I don't know. One of those two. Well, I guess you can't fight with the proton pack.
Like
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
throwing
Keep
these
going.
out
Yeah.
there.
That's a great question, but okay. What nerd power would I want to win?
Or weapon of choice.
Was it power or weapon? Did I miss
Power
it?
Weapon.
or weapon, either
Oh,
or.
sorry.
I mean, honestly, I want to be the three-eyed raven.
The three-eyed raven.
Yeah.
Wait, can I amend
Yeah.
my answer now? Because I didn't answer the right question.
Go.
Probably Professor X. The ability to read minds and travel through time and space. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are great answers. Thank you guys so much.
No, this was great.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.